Good afternoon, everyone. It's Michelle Hill with Southern Inspirations in the Maumelle Area Chamber of Commerce. I hope you're enjoying some sunshine and that you're safe and healthy. I'm so excited to continue to share relevant educational material during this time, and I'm happy to have my guest, Philip Gottsponer, with me this afternoon. Good afternoon, Philip. How are you?
Hey, doing great. How are you doing?
I am good. Hey, y'all, we are here to talk about financial stuff, money,
Yes.
money and investments and the market and, making some good decisions. Philip is with Edward Jones here in Maumelle, and he's been there about 15 months, right, Philip?
Yes.
And I know that you work very closely with individuals about their portfolios. You do a fantastic job of just building those relationships and guiding your clients to make some good decisions, not only during times of crisis, but always. So thank you for the opportunity to visit with you. Thank you for your spirit to be willing to bring educational and relevant information, because I know that people have questions.
Yes, they do very much. And thank you so very much for having me on. Definitely very much appreciate it. This is an uneasy time for a lot of people. And, what we've seen that times like these, they have happened in the past. This time feels different because of what's going on. But a bear market, for example, a 20% drop or more, we've had that. And it does hurt when it happens. But I just want everybody to keep in mind that these things do happen. And on average, a bear market like that's happened around 3.5 years, once every 3.5 years or so. And even a correction, a 10% drop or more has happened once a year. It's very common. So this is normal. It is expected over time for things like this to happen. Of course, it is tough when we're also experiencing these other life changes right now as well.
Right. Yeah. We were talking earlier before the show began. In times like this, there's so much to think about. I've been doing a series on mental health and how we can keep ourselves healthy from that perspective. And whether that's maintaining diet and exercise and being aware of various different signals or triggers. And of course, there's, parents that have kids at home and learning how to homeschool. I mean, the list goes on of
Yes.
things that we need to be concerned about, and making wise choices and investments when it comes to our money, when it comes to our future, our plans for retirement, or whatever that case may be. That's very, very high on the list,
Yes.
and just of utmost concern. Well, Philip, I know there's been a lot of talk. There's so much information out there right now, which is great. There's been a whole lot of talk about the CARES Act.
Hmm.
Can you just touch on that, look, high level? And y'all, I want to go ahead and say too, what we're talking about today, we are keeping it, on a high level to bring you some relevant educational material, because we're both, very aware. This is a very private, personal dialogue, between your personal financial advisor, someone like Philip, and you. So we know that those decisions are to be made within a spirit of confidentiality. But our goal and our hope today is to share enough high level information that if nothing else, we get you thinking, right, Philip? Just thinking about
Definitely.
a look at your current situation, and then to encourage you to either get with Philip, follow up with Philip, or if you have a personal advisor. So I wanted to kind of put that out there. But tell us what you can in layman's terms, and for folks like me, help me even understand a little bit more about CARES Act and what does that even mean?
Sure. So a lot of people know about the CARES Act now. It's been out there. Obviously, you've got the stimulus checks that some people are receiving right now, which hopefully will help the economy, help those stay afloat where they need to be. And one of the main areas as well I can briefly touch on is RMD. So that's what's called a required minimum distribution. When individuals are 72 years of age or older, they are required to take out this minimum distribution out of any of their pre-tax retirement money. So that could be a 401k, it could be a 403b, any of those pre-tax funds. You're required to take a minimum distribution each year after age 72. However, this CARES Act now is requiring or waiving that requirement for 2020. And thankfully, they will not backdate that. So this is something that, since the market has been down, they don't want you to necessarily pull out those funds and lose out on this upside that we'll see. And so that is something that they've done to where we do not have to no longer take out that required minimum distribution for 2020. One other quick thing I'll mention on, I can touch on as well, is just the tax filing deadline. So it normally would have been yesterday, April 15th, tax day, but now it's been extended to July 15th of this year. So what that does is obviously it gives you more time to file your taxes for 2019 if you haven't done that yet. Secondly, it also gives you an opportunity to fund your individual retirement account. So that's your IRAs. If you haven't funded those for 2019, you still have that ability to fund it until you file your taxes, of course. So that's just two quick things that I think will definitely affect a lot of people, whether you're that age or older, or if you do have a retirement account outside of work, it definitely could affect you. But other than that, there are some other things I think that will have an impact on a lot of people that are watching this. A lot of my clients as well. Can't get into detail, of course, to some of those, but I would love to, discuss after the call if there's any questions or concerns about it. There's a lot of impacts to it for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's also important to note here, Philip, that the market always has peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
You in times of a crisis, and we can think back and reference back to 9/11 and other, not pandemics, but just other things that have gone on in our country and our world. That's what the market does. And so, as a source of encouragement, this too shall pass.
It will. It will.
Yeah.
It will. Well, I was going to mention
to help. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to mention too as well. It really matters right now how we react. So there's a couple ways you can react. Obviously, you could move your funds out of retirement, which of course we normally wouldn't recommend. But really, when downturns happen, they're always followed by upturns, as you've seen, over time, and they typically last about 5 times longer than those downturns. So with that in mind, I personally believe time in the market is so important. The more time that we've got our investments there working for us, the more opportunities we've got to really gain on these upsides when the market goes up. It's really difficult for anyone to truly time the market and do well at it. So we just believe that, being in the market, being in quality investments and diversifying will definitely be the good strategy for you. One quick analogy I'll mention too is just about planting a tree. So I ask everybody, when is the best time to plant a tree? What would you say, Michelle?
The best time to plant a tree?
Mm-hmm.
When the ground is fertile for it.
Okay.
Because you're planting seeds and with a goal in mind of when do I want that tree to be grown. So if depending on the tree, if I want it to be full size in, 20 years, 30 years, or, 6 months,
sure. Yep.
then I'm thinking about what's the ground that I'm planting it in, and then what's my time period. I don't know if that was the right answer.
No, that's great. That is great. Because what I say is as soon as possible, as soon as you can get that tree planted, if you've only got a short time horizon for that tree to grow, you obviously want to be planted as soon as possible. So, with that being said, the same thing is with investments. The sooner that you invest, the more time that you've got to be there in the market. Another thing I'll mention too is just, when trees lose their leaves in the fall and into the winter, it doesn't look great, but do we go out there and cut those trees down? Usually not. We keep them there to grow and to do better in the spring. And the same thing with investments. Over time, there's going to be times that will be difficult, will be tough on everybody, but just know that if you stay there, if you do the right things and don't make any irrational emotional decisions, we think that's a good mixture to be successful every time.
So stay the course for sure.
Stay the course, definitely.
Yeah, I like the tree analogy. That's good. Well, I want to put your phone number up here, Philip, because like we mentioned at the start, if anyone's watching who maybe doesn't already have a personal financial advisor or consultant, we want them to know how to get in touch with you. And even if they just have a question, Philip, either about the current situation and how that might affect their investments, their portfolio, or if they had questions for beyond, I know that you're happy to have those conversations.
Sure. Yeah. Very, very open to that. Of course, right now is a time when people need to be talking to their financial advisors. They need to be hearing from them. They need that reassurance of what's going on to make sure that they're making those right decisions. So definitely, if you're not hearing from your advisor, reach out to me. I'd be glad to talk with you. There's never there's no charge, there's no obligations to ever just reaching out to me and asking me what my opinion is. Would be glad to help for sure.
Well, thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to share before we close?
Nothing I can think of. Just wanted to say that just hang in there. This is a difficult time, but we do believe this too will pass. I'll leave you with a couple quick quotes. One of them is markets recover faster than the economy. And so keep that in mind. The markets do recover. Sometimes we've seen some good days here lately, and some people have wondered, what's going on with the market. Just keep in mind that sometimes it does recover sooner than what's going on right now in the economy. And then secondly, the market is the best mechanism in the world to move money from impatient people to patient people. So what that means is simply remain patient. This is a tough time, but we do believe, just like in any past times, the market will go back up over time. And as long as you make those right decisions, remain calm, and talk to your advisor about those decisions, I think you'll be very successful over time for sure.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's some great nuggets. Good
you.
Advice there.
Appreciate it.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a great discussion. Philip, thank you again for
Thank you as well.
Your knowledge, and y'all reach out to Philip or your personal advisor if you've not done that, and take care of that. Put that on your to-do list. Thank you for your continued support of Southern Inspirations as I work very hard to bring relevant, educational, and informative content. And as always, please let me know if you know of a story that should be told or a business that should be highlighted, especially during this time, but always feel free to reach out to me on that. So with that, everyone have a good rest of your day, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, Michelle.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.